Hello guys, my name is Helena and I am an English teacher. This video lesson is a part of my course on how to write IELTS essays. Let's dive in. Lesson 2. Here's the plan for this lesson. So in this lesson, I'll cover the recommended essay structure that you can use when you write your essay, and writing steps and timing. Let's go on. So, essay structure. We'll look at what you need to write and also at how you need to write those things. First, every essay should start with an introduction, and that should have 2 or 3 sentences. Please mind that the number of sentences that I recommend here is the best suited number for an IELTS Task 2 essay, which is an essay that should have at least 250 words and should be written within about 40 minutes. If you are preparing for a different exam, you can still use this structure. However, the number of sentences may have to be different. Also, when I say sentences, I mean complex sentences. These are sentences that have a subject and a verb, then a connector, for example, because, and then another subject-verb pair. In other words, I'm talking about longer sentences. Now, why do I recommend this number of sentences? Well, one sentence obviously would not make a good introduction. An introduction with more than 3 sentences, however, would of course be possible, but you need to remember about the time limit since it's an exam task. The more sentences you write, the more time you'll need to spend on writing them, which means you'll have less time on the rest of your essay. And the rest of your essay is naturally important too. So it's actually a very standard recommendation to write only 2 or 3 sentences in the introduction. That's enough. And how do you write those sentences? Well, that's quite easy. All you need to do is paraphrase the essay prompt. And I'll talk about paraphrasing in my next lesson. Now, let's get back to the essay structure. So, after an introduction, you need to write body paragraphs. I generally recommend that you write 2 body paragraphs with 4 to 6 sentences each. Why 2? Well, 1 paragraph is obviously not enough, but writing 3 or more paragraphs again will take up too much time in the exam, and you may risk not finishing your essay. So, a good number of paragraphs is 2, and a good number of sentences for each paragraph is between 4 and 6. And how should you write those body paragraphs? Well, the good news is that both paragraphs will follow the same structure, and here is what that structure is. First, you need to write a topic sentence. This is a sentence that presents the main idea of the paragraph, and then you write your supporting sentences. These sentences give more information about the key idea from the topic sentence. And here is a little pro tip about how to write or how to come up with the ideas for these supporting sentences. Just look back at your topic sentence and the main idea for your paragraph and ask yourself why or how. The answer to those questions will help you come up with the ideas for the supporting sentences. One more thing is that you need to write examples if necessary. Examples are not always necessary. Some students believe that they must write examples in their body paragraphs, but that very much depends on the task and your ideas. A topic sentence and a few good supporting sentences can already make a good body paragraph. even without examples. Next, the last paragraph of your essay will be a conclusion, of course, with about 1 or up to 3 sentences. So how do you write a conclusion? It's easy. Just summarize the ideas from your body paragraphs in 1 or 2 sentences. That will already be a conclusion if you write a summary. However, to make it a bit nicer, I recommend students to write 1 more sentence where you may express your opinion, a recommendation of some kind, or perhaps a hope for the future. And there you go, guys. This is the essay structure that I usually recommend to my students, and if you follow this structure, you'll have good results. In the next few lessons, I'll talk about each part of this structure in more detail. But first, let's have a look at how you should spend your time when you write your essays. So, timing and steps, writing steps. You'll have about 40 minutes for this task in general, and this is how you should spend those 40 minutes. Step 1. Understand the prompt, come up with ideas, and write your plan. You should spend about 10 minutes on this step. And a lot of students make a mistake here, and they skip this step, and as a result, their essays have problems. So why is this step so important? And why am I recommending that you spend this much time on it? 10 minutes is quite a lot of time. Well, do you remember the assessment criteria that I talked about in lesson 1? If you haven't seen lesson 1, please go back to it and watch it. Anyway, the first two criteria that examiners use to give you your scores are task response and coherence and cohesion, which means that examiners will give you scores for how well you write about the given task and how well you organize your essay. So in these 10 minutes, you should cover those two criteria. You should plan an essay that will be on task, so you could have a good score on task response, and an essay that will be organized well, and that's your coherence and cohesion covered. And because this is a very important step, I'll talk about it in detail in lesson 3. Let's move on to step 2. So once you got your plan sorted, then you can write your introduction. And this can take up to 7 minutes, but it's better if you do it in 5. Step 3, write your body paragraphs. You can spend up to 15 minutes on these paragraphs, so about 7.5 minutes per paragraph. Next, you probably already guessed, write your conclusion, and that should take up to 7 minutes again, but it's better if you do it in 5. So why am I rushing a little bit here? And if you're good at maths, you'll probably see that you'll have up to 4 minutes left if you're a fast writer. If you're a slower writer, you'll have about 1 minute left at the end of these 4 steps. And that's because step number 5 is check your writing, and you should spend about 1 to 4 minutes on this task. Again, this is another common mistake that students make. They skip this step, and it's a very important step. Why? Because I have seen so many essays that have purely mechanical mistakes, like there's a spelling mistake that clearly is an easy word and the student knew this word for sure, or like students forget to write the final letter, the final E in a word, or students forget about the final S for plural or something like that. For me, as a teacher, I know that those mistakes are what happens because the student was in a rush. However, an examiner cannot make assumptions like that. They will have to give you your scores for what they see. And if there is a spelling mistake, it doesn't matter if it's mechanical or not. They will have to give you the score for those mistakes, basically, a lower score for those mistakes. So I just want to stress once again that it's very, very important to check your writing once you've finished it. And one more important point to remember for you guys. The given timing is the ideal timing. When you just begin to practice writing your essays, you won't fit into these suggested timings, and that's okay. At the beginning, I always recommend my students to spend more time on their essays. However, when or once you've written quite a few essays already, you need to try and follow the suggested time limits so you manage to write your essay in 40 minutes. I hope you liked this lesson and found it useful. If you'd like to see more lessons like this on this channel, please remember to like, subscribe, and comment on this video. I'd like to see your reactions and feedback. See you in lesson 3.